The Indian Independence Act of 1947 was a landmark in the history of the Indian subcontinent, marking the end of British colonial rule and the birth of two sovereign nations, India and Pakistan. This act was not an isolated incident but the culmination of a long and intense struggle for independence led by various nationalist movements. The nationalist movement in India gained momentum in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The Indian National Congress, founded in 1885, became the principal leader of the Indian independence movement. The Indian National Congress, under leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and others, mobilized millions of Indians through non-violent civil disobedience, mass protests and demands for self-rule. Events like the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919, where British troops killed hundreds of unarmed protesters, intensified the call for independence. The All India Muslim League, founded in 1906, initially aimed to protect the interests of Muslims in India but gradually evolved to demand a separate Muslim state. Under the leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Muslim League argued that Muslims constituted a distinct nation deserving of their own homeland. This demand for a separate state, articulated in the Lahore Resolution of 1940, laid the groundwork for the eventual creation of Pakistan. In 1946, the British government sent the cabinet mission to India to negotiate a transfer of power. The plan proposed a united India with a federal structure allowing significant autonomy to provinces. While initially accepted by both the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League, disagreements over its implementation led to its failure. The Muslim League, advocating for Pakistan, and the Indian National Congress, favoring a strong central government, could not reconcile their differences, setting the stage for partition. The Mountbatten Plan, also known as the June 3rd Plan, was the final British proposal for the transfer of power presented by Lord Louis Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of India. Let's see its key features. The plan proposed the partition of British India into two separate dominions, India and Pakistan. This was a radical shift from previous plans aiming to keep India united. India and Pakistan were to be established as independent dominions on August 15, 1947. Pakistan would consist of the Muslim majority areas in the northwest and east, West Pakistan and East Pakistan respectively. A boundary commission chaired by Sir Cyril Ratcliffe was tasked with demarcating the boundaries between India and Pakistan. The commission had to make quick decisions, often based on incomplete data, leading to contentious borders. The princely states, which were not directly governed by the British but under their suzerainty, were given the option to join either India or Pakistan or to remain independent. This provision led to complex negotiations and conflicts, particularly in regions like Kashmir and Hyderabad and Junagadh. The Indian Independence Act of 1947, enacted by the British Parliament, formalized the Mountbatten Plan and set the framework for the independence and partition of India. The Act was essentially the legal embodiment of the Mountbatten Plan, detailing the process and timelines for the transfer of power. The Act was passed by the British Parliament in July 1947, receiving royal assent on July 18, 1947. It was a swift legislative process reflecting the urgency of the situation. Let's see its key provisions. The Act provided for the creation of two independent dominions, India and Pakistan, effective from August 15, 1947. Each dominion would have full sovereign status. Both dominions were to have their own Governor-Generals representing the British Crown. However, they had the option to have a common Governor-General initially. Lord Mountbatten became the first Governor-General of independent India, while Muhammad Ali Jinnah took on the role for Pakistan. The Boundary Commission, led by Sir Cyril Ratcliffe, was responsible for determining the borders between the new dominions. Ratcliffe's decisions, made under immense time pressure, resulted in significant controversies and disputes. The Act ended British suzerainty over the princely states, leaving them to decide their future. The lapse of paramountcy meant these states had to choose between joining India or Pakistan or remaining independent, a decision fraught with political and social complexities. Each dominion was to have its own constituent assembly to frame a constitution. These assemblies were also to serve as interim legislatures until the new constitutions were adopted. The Indian Independence Act had profound and far-reaching consequences, both immediate and long-term. The Act formally ended nearly 200 years of British colonial rule in India. August 15, 1947 marked the dawn of a new era for the subcontinent characterized by self-governance and sovereignty. The partition resulted in the creation of two separate nations, India and Pakistan. Pakistan was initially composed of two geographically and culturally distinct regions, East Pakistan, which was later called Bangladesh, and West Pakistan. The division was based on religious lines, with India being predominantly Hindu and Pakistan predominantly Muslim. The partition triggered one of the largest mass migrations in history, with an estimated 10 to 15 million people crossing borders to join their chosen dominion. This movement was accompanied by horrific violence, communal riots, and massacres, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of thousands and creating deep-seated animosities between communities. The princely states faced pressure to join either India or Pakistan. While many states acceded peacefully, some like Hyderabad, Junagadh, and Kashmir experienced significant turmoil and military intervention. The integration of these states was a complex process influencing the political landscape of the new dominions. To understand the significance of the Indian Independence Act of 1947, it is essential to examine its role in the broader context of Indian independence, the challenges arising from partition, and the provisions for princely states. The Indian Independence Act was pivotal in legally sanctioning the end of British rule and the partition of India. It translated the Mountbatten Plan into actionable steps, providing a clear timeline and legal framework for the transition to independence. The Act addressed the political realities of the time, particularly the irreconcilable demands of the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League. Partition brought about immense challenges, including large-scale violence, displacement, and the need to establish new governance structures. The hurried nature of the process, driven by the looming deadline, exacerbated these challenges. The Radcliffe Line demarcating the borders was a source of immediate conflict, particularly in Punjab and Bengal, where populations were deeply interwoven. The Act's provisions for princely states was crucial in shaping the future political landscape of India and Pakistan. The lapse of British suzerainty and the states' options to join either dominion or remain independent created a complex scenario. The Indian National Congress, under Sardar Patel's leadership, embarked on a concerted effort to integrate these states into India using diplomacy, persuasion, and at times force. The integration of these states was vital for the territorial integrity and political stability of the new nations. The Indian Independence Act and partition continues to influence political and social issues in the subcontinent. The borders drawn in 1947 remain contentious, particularly in regions like Kashmir where conflicts persist. The communal tensions and violence during partition left deep scars that still affect Hindu-Muslim relations in India and Pakistan's internal dynamics. Understanding the historical context of these issues is crucial for addressing contemporary challenges. As the last Viceroy of India, Lord Mountbatten played a critical role in the transition to independence. His expedited timeline for partition was controversial but stemmed from a desire to prevent further violence and chaos. Mountbatten's decisions and actions were instrumental in shaping the final outcome. The British Prime Minister at the time, Clement Attlee, was committed to granting India independence. His Labour government, recognizing the untenability of British rule in India post-World War II, pushed for a swift and definitive end to colonialism. The Indian Independence Act and the partition it entailed have been subjects of extensive debate and analysis. Critics argue that the hasty partition and lack of adequate planning led to unnecessary violence and suffering. Others contend that partition was inevitable given the deep religious and political divisions. These debates highlight the complexity and contentious nature of the process. To conclude, the Indian Independence Act of 1947 was a monumental step in the history of the Indian subcontinent, bringing an end to British colonial rule and paving the way for the creation of two sovereign nations, India and Pakistan. It addressed the demands of the nationalist movements and the exigencies of the time, but also set the stage for significant challenges and conflicts. Understanding the Act and its consequences is crucial for comprehending the historical and contemporary dynamics of the region. The Act's legacy, marked by both triumph and tragedy, continues to shape the political and social landscape of South Asia.